Behind me is a Ford Fiesta, and in this video I'm going to be talking about why you should get this as your first car, and also why they're slowly disappearing. So stay tuned to find out more. So the first thing I really want to talk about is the exterior of the car. It's really held up over the last few years. The grille still looks great, the back looks fine. I mean, there's nothing really that sticks out about the exterior of the car. At the same time, it doesn't really look bad either. But what about the inside of the car? Well, for starters, the dash is really simple, really clear, and easy to understand. It's not too much going on, but it has what you need. As for the actual space in the cabin, there's plenty of space in the front, but if you're a passenger in the back, you might struggle for a bit of leg space. As for the seats, super comfy. I've driven all the way to Scotland, which is a 12-hour trip for me in one day in these seats, and I never really felt like there was a problem, to be honest. You've also got these side pockets, which have plenty of space in there. Nice leather steering wheel. The dash leaves a bit to be desired, to be honest. It's got a bit of an old-fashioned keyboard to it. You know, you've got the letters under the numbers. Kind of reminds me of a Nokia, to be honest, so I can't really vouch for that. The actual screen as well is pretty old, but it does what you need, right? You've got the Bluetooth in there. You've also got an aux and a USB area, 2 cup holders. I mean, that's it really. There's not much going on the inside of the car that you'll find much different from other cars. It basically has what you need. One thing I did forget to mention though, is that you've got electronic mirrors, which to be honest is quite a pleasant surprise. I did not expect that. Now there are a few problems in this car. For example, if you try and stick it in reverse sometimes, okay, that time it worked, but sometimes it doesn't catch fully and you have to re-stick it in reverse to get it moving. Another common problem you get is with the aircon not working. For me, number 1, number 2, number 3 doesn't work. But number 4 works. So I get full blast aircon whenever I need it. But that's just a £20 fix and it's really simple and you can do it yourself. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's just get riding, shall we? So why is this such a great first car? Number 1, insurance is relatively cheap on this car. It's only 80 bhp, it doesn't get stolen a lot and doesn't crash a lot. So insurers mark it as one of the cheaper options. It's also been one of the best selling cars in the last 4 decades in Europe, which means there's an abundance of parts available in case you need any replacements. Let's talk about maintenance costs. This car is extremely cheap to maintain, to be honest. I've recently had my wheels changed after another 20,000 miles in the back, and it cost me about 120 quid to get both of them replaced, and those were for premium tyres. That's a pretty good deal considering they're premium tyres and they came fitted. For sport cars, you could be looking at, you know, £150 per tyre. And another thing is reliability. This car is super reliable. I've done really long trips. I've driven all the way up to Scotland, which was a 13-hour trip in one day, and it was quite hot. And it handled it no problem whatsoever, which also brings me on to the fuel economy for this car. This car, when I first bought it, gave me about 42 mpg. Now it's giving me about 37, which is really good considering it's only a 5-speed. It's cheap to run, it's cheap to maintain, and it's more than enough power for the roads. In terms of the specs of this car, I've got the 1.2 litre version, which gives me about 80 bhp to the wheel. That's more than enough to get you around town, get you on the motorways, and to be honest, that's more than enough for a first car. You don't really need any more than that. What makes this car so special is its simplicity. It's got exactly what you need to get you around comfortably, to get you around safely, and to get you around with an overall enjoyable experience. The speakers are great, Bluetooth works pretty well, the road noise in the cabin isn't too jarring. You can still hear it somewhat, but it's not that bad. And in all seriousness, there's not really too much to complain about. The brakes are really good, you can always upgrade them to something stronger. The handling feels great, it's never caused me any issues, right? I never felt like the handling was either too stiff or too light. It's just about right, to be honest, for what you need. The suspension in the car does its job really, really well. It is a bit stiff for my liking, but like I said, it's nothing really too much to complain about. Like if you go over a really deep pothole, you're going to feel it quite badly. But in terms of normal standard roads with like standard bumps and things, it's very, very smooth going over those. One thing that is a bit annoying, to be honest, is the visibility. One thing I can complain about, to be honest, is the visibility in this car. So you've got these giant pillars on the right and left, which kind of blocks your view when you're coming out of small junctions and at roundabouts. And sometimes I find myself peering forward to get and look around to get around those pillars and be able to see what's actually coming. Same for the back windows, because they're quite small and it's a hatchback. There's not much visibility out of the back left and the back right. But the back itself, the rear window, completely fine, completely clear. But the engine picks up really well in first and second gear. More than enough power to get you out of trouble, but not enough power to get you into trouble, which is really what you want as your first car. And what's interesting about the Fiesta is, although it was the best-selling car of the last 4 decades, Ford have actually went on and decided to axe its production. With EVs now coming in and SUVs becoming more and more popular, Ford have decided to allocate the factory space that was previously for Ford Fiestas to make way for their new SUV EV vehicle, the Ford Explorer. To be honest, that kind of makes me a bit sad, because this car is so great. It's been so great to me, and it's been so great to others. It just feels like a real shame to see it go. But it's not all sadness and misery, because as of recording this video, there's about 13,000 of them still available. And as a first car, they're relatively cheap. You can pick one of these up for about 3 to 5k on Auto Trader. Right, let's wrap up this video. The Ford Fiesta is great because it's reliable, cheap, easy to maintain, and to be honest, it's just cheap, man. It's just cheap and good. Like, there's nothing else to say. If you're looking for a first car, truly don't sleep on this. And if you're into your cars and mods in general, check out this video where a friend of mine completely kitted out his GT86 with about £20,000 of mods. And as always, thanks for watching.